Listen to me. If you don't change the way you speak to yourself, you will never change the direction of your life. I'm not here to motivate you for a moment. I'm here to challenge you for the next 3 days. Because in the next 72 hours, the voice inside your head will either build your future or quietly destroy it. And most people, they lose not because of the world, but because of what they whisper to themselves when no one is watching. I've studied high performers for years, and I'm telling you right now, what separates them is not talent, not luck, not even opportunity. It's the conversations they allow in their own mind. Brendon Burchard always says, clarity and confidence come from intention, and intention starts with your internal dialogue. So let me ask you, are you lifting yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down every single day? For the next 3 days, I want you to speak to yourself differently. When fear shows up, you don't say, I can't. You say, I'm learning. When doubt creeps in, you don't say, I'm not enough. You say, I am growing. You interrupt the pattern. You take control. Because the moment you shift your words, you shift your identity. And when your identity shifts, your entire life follows. But let's be real. This isn't easy. You've spent years programming your mind with limitation, with negativity, with hesitation. So yes, it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel unnatural. But growth always does. And if you can win this battle, the battle within will unlock a level of power, confidence, and faith that most people never reach. So if you're ready to take control of your life, start by taking control of your voice. And if this message is speaking to your spirit right now, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily motivation. Drop a powerful quote in the comments that keeps you going. And most importantly, comment one thing you're believing God for today. Because your words matter, your belief matters. And these next 3 days, they can change everything. There is a quiet voice inside you that speaks more often than anyone else ever will. And most of the time, you don't even notice it. It's there when you wake up, setting the tone for your day. It's there when you face challenges, telling you what you believe you can or cannot do. It's there in moments of silence, repeating patterns you've carried for years. And whether you realize it or not, that voice is shaping your life in real time. The direction of your future is not just built by your actions, but by the conversations happening within you. If those conversations are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, then no matter how much opportunity surrounds you, you will shrink. But if those conversations are filled with strength, clarity, and belief, then even in the face of difficulty, you will rise. Most people spend their lives trying to control external circumstances. They try to fix situations, change people, chase better environments, and search for the perfect conditions to feel confident or successful. But what they overlook is the one thing that influences everything else, their inner voice. You can have the best opportunity in the world, but if your mind tells you that you are not ready, not worthy, or not capable, you will hesitate. And hesitation is often the silent killer of potential. It doesn't shout. It doesn't make a scene. It simply slows you down enough to miss what could have been yours. When you begin to observe your inner voice, you may notice how automatic it is. It repeats phrases you've heard before, beliefs you picked up from past experiences, fears that were never fully challenged. It says things like, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, or this is too hard for me. These statements don't just pass through your mind, they settle into your identity. And once something becomes part of your identity, it starts influencing your behavior without you even thinking about it. You begin to act in alignment with those words, proving them true over and over again, not because they are facts, but because you've accepted them as truth. The danger is not just in having a negative thought. Everyone has negative thoughts. The danger is in believing every thought you have. Your mind is a powerful tool, but it is not always accurate. It reacts, it protects, it tries to keep you safe, but in doing so, it often limits you. If you allow every fearful or doubtful thought to guide your decisions, you will live a life that is smaller than what you are capable of. You will avoid risks, play it safe, and stay within boundaries that were never meant to define you. Learning to control your inner voice begins with awareness. You cannot change what you are not aware of, so you start by paying attention. Notice how you speak to yourself in different situations. Notice your tone, your choice of words, your emotional reactions. Do you encourage yourself when things get difficult? Or do you criticize yourself? Do you remind yourself of your strength? Or do you replay your past failures? This awareness is not about judgment. It is about understanding. Because once you understand your patterns, you can begin to change them. Changing your inner voice is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is not about ignoring challenges or denying reality. It is about choosing a response that empowers you instead of weakening you. When something goes wrong, instead of saying, I can't handle this, you can say, this is difficult, but I am learning how to handle it. That small shift may seem simple, but it changes your emotional state. It keeps you engaged instead of shutting you down. It keeps you moving instead of freezing. Your words carry energy. The way you speak to yourself affects how you feel, and how you feel affects how you act. If your inner voice is harsh, critical, and negative, it creates tension, anxiety, and doubt. But if your inner voice is calm, supportive, and strong, it creates confidence, clarity, and focus. This is why controlling your inner voice is not just a mental exercise, It is a foundational practice for your entire life. It influences your relationships, your work, your faith, your sense of purpose. There is a reason why high performers focus so much on mindset. People like Brendon Burchard emphasize that clarity and confidence are built from within. They are not given to you by the world. They are cultivated through consistent internal dialogue. When you train your mind to speak with intention, you begin to operate differently. You make decisions faster. You recover from setbacks quicker. You trust yourself more deeply, and that trust becomes the foundation for everything else. But this training takes patience. You cannot expect to change years of conditioning in a single day. Your mind will resist. It will go back to old patterns. It will repeat familiar phrases because they feel safe, even if they are limiting. This is where discipline comes in. You gently but firmly redirect your thoughts. Every time a negative statement appears, you challenge it. You replace it. Not with something unrealistic, but with something constructive and truthful. For example, if your mind says, "I always fail," you pause and ask yourself, "Is that completely true?" You will likely find that it is not. There have been moments where you succeeded, moments where you learned, moments where you grew. So you replace that statement with something more accurate, like, "I have faced challenges before, and I have learned from them." This new statement does not ignore difficulty, but it also does not trap you in a false narrative of failure. Over time, these small changes begin to accumulate. Your inner voice becomes more balanced, more supportive, more aligned with who you want to become. And as that voice changes, your behavior starts to change as well. You take more initiative, you speak up more, you pursue opportunities you would have avoided before. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you are no longer holding yourself back in the same way. It is important to understand that your inner voice is always active. Even when you are not consciously thinking, it is running in the background. This means that if you do not take control of it, it will continue operating on autopilot. And autopilot is shaped by your past, not your potential. So if you want a different future, you must become intentional about your internal dialogue. You must choose your words carefully, just as you would in an important conversation with someone else. Think about how you speak to people you care about. You encourage them, you support them, you remind them of their strengths, you give them hope. Now imagine if you spoke to yourself in the same way. Imagine the difference it would make if, instead of being your own harshest critic, you became your own strongest supporter. That shift alone can transform how you experience life. There will be moments when your inner voice becomes loud with fear. Moments when doubt feels overwhelming. In those moments, controlling your inner voice does not mean eliminating those feelings. It means responding to them with strength. You acknowledge the fear, but you do not let it define you. You say, "I feel this, but I am not controlled by it." You remind yourself of your ability to move forward despite discomfort. This is where calmness becomes powerful. You do not need to fight your thoughts aggressively. You do not need to create more tension. Instead, you bring a sense of calm awareness. You observe, you understand, and you redirect. This calm approach makes your mind more receptive to change. It allows you to build new patterns without resistance. Your inner voice also influences your faith. The way you speak to yourself affects how you see your relationship with God. If your inner dialogue is filled with guilt, doubt, or unworthiness, it can create distance in your spiritual life. But when your inner voice is grounded in belief, trust, and gratitude, it strengthens your connection. You begin to see yourself as someone who is guided, supported, and capable of growth. Controlling your inner voice is not about perfection. There will still be moments when negative thoughts appear. The goal is not to eliminate them completely, but to reduce their power, to make sure they do not control your decisions or define your identity. Every time you choose a better response, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen a new one. This practice requires consistency. It is not something you do once and forget. It is something you integrate into your daily life. When you wake up, you set the tone with intentional thoughts. When you face challenges, you respond with constructive language. When you reflect on your day, you do so with honesty and compassion. Over time, this consistency builds a new mental environment, one that supports your growth instead of limiting it. As you continue this journey, you may notice a shift in how you carry yourself. There is a quiet confidence that begins to develop. Not loud or arrogant, but steady and grounded. You trust your ability to handle situations. You believe in your capacity to learn and grow. And this belief is not based on external validation, but on the relationship you have built with yourself. Your inner voice becomes a source of guidance rather than conflict. It helps you navigate decisions. It reminds you of your values. It keeps you aligned with your goals. Instead of being pulled in different directions by doubt and fear, you move forward with clarity and intention. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it begins the moment you decide to take control. The moment you stop accepting every thought as truth and start choosing your response. The moment you realize that the most important conversation you will ever have is the one happening within you. There is a moment, so small, so quick, that most people never notice it. A thought appears in your mind, and before you even have time to question it, it begins shaping how you feel. That thought might say something like, "You're not ready," or "This is going to go wrong," or "You always mess things up." And in that tiny moment, if you do nothing, your mind accepts it. It sinks deeper, influencing your emotions, tightening your body, shifting your energy. This is how negative self-talk works. It doesn't need permission when you're unaware. It only needs your silence. Interrupting negative self-talk immediately is one of the most powerful skills you can develop because it stops that process before it gains momentum. Think of it like a spark. If you catch it early, it fades quickly. But if you let it sit, it can turn into a fire that spreads through your thoughts, your mood, your decisions. Most people don't struggle because they have negative thoughts. They struggle because they let those thoughts continue unchecked, repeating, growing, becoming louder and more convincing with every second. The mind is incredibly fast. It can generate dozens of thoughts in a short period of time, and many of them are automatic. These thoughts are often based on past experiences, old fears, or patterns that have been repeated so many times they feel like truth. When something challenges you, your brain tries to protect you by predicting risk. And sometimes that protection comes in the form of doubt or criticism. But protection is not always accuracy. Just because your mind says something does not mean it is right. This is why interruption is so important. The moment a negative thought appears, you step in. Not with anger, not with frustration, but with awareness and authority. You recognize the thought for what it is. A passing mental event, not a command you must follow. And in that recognition, you create space. That space is where your power lives. You might begin by simply noticing the language of your thoughts. Are they absolute? Do they use words like always, never, everyone, no one? These are signs that your mind is exaggerating, turning a moment into a fixed identity. When you hear, I always fail, you pause and gently interrupt it. You say, that's not accurate. You don't let it continue without challenge. You don't allow it to define you. This interruption does not have to be loud or dramatic. It can be calm, steady, grounded. In fact, calmness makes it more effective. You are not fighting your mind. You are guiding it. You are stepping into a leadership role within yourself. Instead of being pulled by every thought, you become the one who decides which thoughts deserve your attention. There is a rhythm to negative self-talk. It often starts small, then builds. One thought leads to another, and before you realize it, you are caught in a loop. You replay past mistakes, imagine worst-case scenarios, question your abilities. This loop can feel overwhelming, but it is not unbreakable. It only continues because it is uninterrupted. The moment you break that rhythm, even slightly, you weaken its hold. Imagine you are walking down a path and suddenly realize you are going in the wrong direction. You don't keep walking just because you started. You stop, you reassess, you choose a different direction. Interrupting negative self-talk works the same way. You do not continue a harmful thought just because it began. You stop it, you redirect it, you choose something better. One simple way to interrupt is by asking a question. When a negative thought appears, instead of accepting it, you ask, is this true or is this helpful? These questions create distance between you and the thought. They slow down the automatic process and bring your awareness into the present moment. Often, you will find that the thought is either exaggerated or unhelpful. And in that realization, it loses some of its power. Another approach is to shift your focus to something constructive. This does not mean ignoring the situation or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing a thought that supports you rather than weakens you. For example, if your mind says, I can't do this, you interrupt it and replace it with, this is challenging, but I can take one step forward. That shift keeps you engaged. It keeps you moving. Your body also responds to your thoughts. Negative self-talk can create tension, tightness, a sense of heaviness. When you interrupt those thoughts, you may notice a physical change as well. Your breathing becomes more steady. Your shoulders relax. Your mind feels a little clearer. This connection between mind and body is important because it shows how powerful your internal dialogue really is. Interrupting negative self-talk is not about becoming perfect. There will still be moments when negative thoughts appear. The goal is not to eliminate them completely, but to reduce their influence. Each time you interrupt a thought, you are training your mind. You are creating a new pattern, and over time, that pattern becomes stronger. Consistency is what makes this practice effective. It is not about doing it once or twice. It is about doing it every time you notice a negative thought. At first, this may feel difficult. You may miss some thoughts. You may realize them only after they have already affected you. That is okay. Awareness grows with practice. The more you pay attention, the earlier you will catch them. There is also a level of patience required. Your mind has been operating in a certain way for a long time. It has built habits, and habits do not change instantly. But every interruption is a step forward. Every moment of awareness is progress. You are not trying to force change. You are allowing it to develop through consistent effort. People like Brendon Burchard often emphasize the importance of intentional thinking. They understand that high performance is not just about external action, but about internal discipline. The ability to guide your thoughts, to stay focused, to maintain a supportive inner dialogue. These are skills that can be developed, and they make a significant difference in how you experience life. Interrupting negative self-talk also helps you build trust with yourself. When you consistently step in and redirect harmful thoughts, you show yourself that you are capable of support and guidance. You become someone who does not abandon yourself in moments of difficulty. Instead, you stand with yourself, offering clarity and strength. This trust creates a sense of stability. Even when external circumstances are uncertain, you know that you can rely on your inner voice to guide you in a constructive way. That stability reduces anxiety. It allows you to approach challenges with a calmer mindset. You are no longer overwhelmed by every thought that passes through your mind. There is a quiet strength in this practice. It is not about being loud or forceful. It is about being present and intentional. It is about choosing your response in each moment. That choice may seem small, but it has a cumulative effect. Over time, it changes how you think, how you feel, how you act. You may begin to notice that your thoughts become less negative overall. Not because you are forcing positivity, but because you are no longer feeding the negative patterns. Without constant reinforcement, those patterns begin to fade. Your mind becomes more balanced, more focused, more aligned with your goals. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of doubt. But the difference is that you will not be controlled by them. You will recognize them, interrupt them, and move forward with intention. That is where real growth happens, not in the absence of difficulty, but in the way you respond to it. This practice also creates space for better thoughts to emerge. When you interrupt negativity, you make room for clarity, for creativity, for solutions. Your mind is no longer crowded with limiting beliefs. It becomes a place where ideas can develop, where possibilities can be explored. As you continue, you may find that this awareness extends beyond your thoughts. You become more present in your daily life. You notice your surroundings more clearly. You engage more fully with what you are doing. This presence enhances your overall experience, making each moment feel more grounded and intentional. Interrupting negative self-talk is ultimately about taking responsibility for your inner world. It is recognizing that while you may not control every thought that appears, you do have control over how you respond. And in that response lies your power. Each time you choose to interrupt a negative thought, you are making a statement. You are saying that you will not be defined by automatic patterns. You are saying that you are willing to guide your mind in a direction that supports your growth. You are saying that your inner voice matters and that you are committed to shaping it with care and intention. This commitment creates a shift. It changes the relationship you have with yourself. It turns your mind from a place of conflict into a place of support. And in that support, you find the strength to move forward, step by step, thought by thought, with a sense of calm awareness and steady control. Language is not just something you use to communicate with the world. It is something you use to shape your reality. Every word you repeat to yourself carries weight, carries direction, carries influence. And one of the most limiting phrases you can ever allow into your inner dialogue is simple, quiet, and incredibly powerful. I can't. It seems harmless at first. It may even feel honest in the moment. But over time, those two words begin to close doors in your mind long before you ever reach them in real life. When you say, I can't, your brain stops searching for solutions. It settles. It accepts limitation as fact. It shuts down curiosity, effort, and possibility. You may not even realize it, but in that moment, you are giving up control. You are allowing a temporary feeling, fear, discomfort, uncertainty, to define what you believe is permanently true about you. And when this pattern repeats, it slowly builds a version of you that hesitates, doubts, and holds back, even in situations where growth is possible. But here is where the shift begins. Replacing I can't with empowering language is not about pretending everything is easy. It is not about ignoring difficulty or denying reality. It is about keeping your mind open. It is about choosing words that allow movement instead of shutting it down. When you say I can't, the conversation ends. But when you say I'm learning, or I'm figuring this out, or I can improve, the conversation continues. Your mind stays engaged. Your energy stays active. There is a calm strength in choosing better language. It does not need to be loud or dramatic. It can be quiet, steady, grounded. When something feels difficult, instead of reacting with, I can't do this, you pause, you breathe, you allow a moment of awareness, and then you gently shift your words to something that supports you. This is challenging, but I can take one step. That small change may seem simple, but it creates space. It creates possibility. Your mind listens closely to the words you use. It does not always question them. It follows them. If you consistently tell yourself that something is impossible, your mind will align with that belief. It will filter your experiences through that lens. It will notice evidence that supports it and ignore evidence that contradicts it. But when you introduce empowering language, you begin to change that filter. You begin to notice opportunities, progress, and potential that were always there but previously overlooked. This is why awareness is so important. You begin by noticing how often I can't appears in your thoughts. It may show up in small situations, tasks you avoid, conversations you hesitate to have, goals you quietly put aside. It may also appear in bigger moments, when you face something new, something uncertain, something that stretches you beyond your comfort zone. Each time it appears, you have a choice. You can accept it, or you can shift it. Shifting your language is not about forcing positivity. It is about choosing accuracy and possibility. Instead of I can't, you might say, I haven't learned this yet. That word yet is powerful. It keeps the door open. It acknowledges that growth is a process, not a fixed state. It reminds you that your current ability is not your final ability. Another way to shift is by focusing on action. I can't do this becomes, What is one thing I can do right now? This moves your mind from limitation to engagement. It turns a closed statement into an open question, and questions invite answers. They encourage your brain to search, to explore, to find a path forward. There's also a deeper layer to this practice. The words you use are connected to your identity. If you repeatedly say, I can't, you begin to see yourself as someone who is limited, someone who struggles, someone who avoids. But when you use empowering language, you begin to build a different identity. Someone who learns, someone who adapts, someone who grows. This identity is not built overnight, but it is shaped through consistent repetition. People like Brendon Burchard often emphasize the importance of intentional language because they understand its impact on performance and mindset. High performers are not free from doubt, but they have learned how to speak to themselves in a way that keeps them moving. They replace limiting statements with constructive ones. They guide their thoughts instead of being controlled by them. This guidance requires patience. Your mind has likely been using certain phrases for a long time. I can't may feel familiar, even automatic. Changing it will feel different at first. It may require effort. You may catch yourself after the fact, realizing that you used the old phrase. That is part of the process. Awareness comes first, then gradual change. As you practice, you will begin to catch the phrase earlier. You will notice it as it forms, and you will have the opportunity to shift it in real time. This is where the transformation happens. Not in avoiding negative thoughts completely, but in responding to them with intention. Your tone also matters. Empowering language is not just about the words you choose, but how you say them. You can say, I'm learning with doubt, or you can say it with calm confidence. The goal is not to convince yourself of something unrealistic, but to create a supportive environment within your mind. A place where growth feels possible, where effort feels worthwhile, where challenges are seen as opportunities rather than obstacles. There will be moments when the situation feels overwhelming. Moments when I can't feels like the most natural response. In those moments, you do not need to force a perfect statement. You can simply soften the language. Instead of I can't, you might say, this feels difficult right now. This acknowledges your experience without closing the door. It creates space for the next step. Over time, these small shifts begin to change how you experience challenges. They no longer feel like walls, but like paths that require effort and patience. You begin to approach situations with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. You ask questions, you explore options, you take steps, even if they are small. This approach also reduces pressure. When you say I can't, you create a sense of finality. But when you say I'm learning, you allow yourself to be in process. You give yourself permission to make mistakes, to grow, to improve. This reduces the fear of failure and increases your willingness to try. Your inner dialogue becomes more supportive, more balanced, more aligned with your goals. Instead of holding you back, it begins to guide you forward. It reminds you of your ability to adapt, to learn, to overcome. It becomes a source of strength rather than limitation. This shift also influences your emotions. Empowering language creates a sense of possibility, which can lead to feelings of hope, motivation, and calm determination. These emotions support action. They make it easier to take steps, to stay consistent, to keep moving even when progress feels slow. As you continue this practice, you may notice a change in how you carry yourself. There is a quiet confidence that begins to develop, not because everything is easy, but because you trust your ability to handle what comes your way. You trust your capacity to learn, to adapt, to grow. This trust is built through repetition. Each time you replace I can't with a more empowering statement, you reinforce a new pattern. You show yourself that you are capable of guiding your thoughts. You create a mental environment that supports your development. Your mind becomes a place where possibilities are explored rather than dismissed, where challenges are approached with curiosity rather than avoidance, where your words align with your potential rather than your fears. There is a calmness in this approach. You are not rushing to change everything at once. You are simply choosing better words, one moment at a time. You are creating a steady shift in your internal dialogue, allowing it to evolve naturally. This evolution affects every area of your life. Your work, your relationships, your personal growth, all are influenced by the way you speak to yourself. When your inner voice is supportive and empowering, it becomes easier to engage fully with each area. You bring a sense of presence, intention, and confidence to what you do. You begin to notice that the phrase I can't appears less often. And when it does appear, it no longer has the same power. It is simply a thought that you recognize and shift. It does not define you. It does not control your actions. In its place, you build a language that reflects growth, possibility, and resilience. A language that keeps you moving, keeps you learning, keeps you connected to your potential. And in that language, you find a new way of experiencing your life that is open, flexible, and aligned with who you are. Confidence is often misunderstood as something loud, visible, and instantly recognizable. But in reality, the strongest form of confidence is quiet. It does not demand attention, it does not need validation, and it does not rely on constant success. It is built slowly, consistently, through the way you speak to yourself every single day. Long before confidence shows up in your actions, it is formed in your inner dialogue. The words you repeat in your mind shape how you see yourself, and how you see yourself determines how you move through the world. Many people wait for confidence to arrive before they take action. They believe they need to feel ready, certain, or fearless before they step forward. But confidence does not come before action, it grows through it. And one of the most powerful ways to support that growth is through daily self-dialogue. The conversations you have with yourself either strengthen your belief or weaken it. There is no neutral ground. Each thought, each phrase, each internal response is either building you or breaking you down in small, almost invisible ways. When your inner dialogue is critical, harsh, or filled with doubt, it creates hesitation. You second-guess your decisions. You hold back your ideas. You question your worth. Even if you have the ability to succeed, your mind creates resistance. But when your inner dialogue is supportive, steady, and encouraging, something shifts. You begin to trust yourself. You move forward with more ease. You take steps even when you're unsure, because you know that your inner voice will guide you rather than attack you. Building confidence through daily self-dialogue begins with intention. You do not leave your thoughts to chance. You choose them. When you wake up, there is an opportunity to set the tone for your day. Before the noise of the world enters, before distractions take over, you have a moment to connect with yourself. In that moment, the words you choose matter. You might remind yourself, I am capable of handling what comes today, or I will approach today with focus and calm. These statements are not about perfection. They are about direction. Throughout the day, your mind will respond to different situations. Some will be easy, some will be challenging. In each moment, your self-dialogue plays a role. When something goes well, do you acknowledge it or do you dismiss it? When something goes wrong, do you encourage yourself or do you criticize yourself? These responses accumulate. They create a pattern. And that pattern becomes the foundation of your confidence. It is important to understand that confidence is not built by ignoring mistakes. It is built by responding to them constructively. When you make a mistake, your inner dialogue can either turn it into a source of growth or a source of doubt. Instead of saying, I always mess things up, you can say, this didn't go as planned, but I can learn from it. This shift keeps your focus on improvement rather than self-judgment. There is a calm strength in this approach. You are not pushing yourself with pressure or fear. You are guiding yourself with clarity and patience. You recognize that growth takes time, and you allow yourself to move through that process without unnecessary resistance. This creates a stable form of confidence, one that is not shaken by temporary setbacks. Your inner dialogue also influences how you prepare for challenges. Before you step into something new, your mind begins to create expectations. If those expectations are filled with doubt, your energy becomes tense, your focus scattered. But if your self-dialogue is grounded and supportive, you approach the situation with a different mindset. You might say, I am prepared to give my best, or I will stay present and adapt as needed. These thoughts create a sense of readiness, even if you do not have all the answers. People like Brendon Burchard often speak about the importance of intention and mindset in high performance. They understand that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you practice. And daily self-dialogue is one of the most consistent ways to practice it. Every day, you have countless opportunities to reinforce your belief in yourself. This practice is not about repeating empty affirmations. It is about aligning your words with your actions. When you say, I am improving, you support that statement by taking small steps forward. When you say, I am capable, you give yourself the chance to prove it through effort. This alignment creates authenticity. Your confidence becomes rooted in experience, not just words. There will be moments when your inner dialogue becomes negative. Moments when doubt feels strong, when criticism appears quickly. In those moments, building confidence means responding with awareness. You do not ignore the thought, but you also do not accept it as truth. You pause, you observe, and you gently redirect. You remind yourself of your progress, your effort, your ability to grow. Consistency is what makes this process effective. It is not about having perfect thoughts all the time. It is about showing up daily, choosing supportive language, and reinforcing it through action. Over time, this consistency creates a shift. Your default thoughts become more balanced, more encouraging, more aligned with your goals. Your body also responds to your self-dialogue. When your inner voice is calm and supportive, your physical state reflects that. Your breathing becomes steady, your posture more relaxed, your movements more intentional. This connection between mind and body strengthens your overall sense of confidence. You begin to carry yourself differently, not because you are forcing it, but because it is a natural extension of your internal state. Another important aspect of daily self-dialogue is reflection. At the end of the day, you have an opportunity to look back on your experiences. This reflection can either build your confidence or weaken it. If you focus only on what went wrong, you reinforce a negative pattern. But if you take a balanced approach, acknowledging both your progress and your areas for improvement, you create a constructive perspective. You might reflect by saying, I handled that situation well, or I stayed calm under pressure, or I learned something valuable today. These reflections are not about ignoring challenges. They are about recognizing growth. They help you see yourself as someone who is evolving, someone who is capable of improvement. As you continue this practice, you may notice that your confidence becomes less dependent on external validation. You no longer need constant approval from others to feel secure. Your belief comes from within, from the relationship you have built with yourself. This independence creates a deeper sense of stability. You are not easily shaken by opinions or temporary setbacks. Your inner dialogue becomes a source of guidance. It helps you navigate decisions, stay focused on your goals, and maintain a sense of direction. Instead of being overwhelmed by uncertainty, you approach it with curiosity. You trust your ability to figure things out, to adapt, to learn. There is also a sense of calm that develops. Confidence does not need to be rushed. It does not need to be forced. It grows naturally when you create the right environment for it. And that environment is shaped by your daily self-dialogue. The words you choose, the tone you use, the consistency you maintain, all of these contribute to the foundation you are building. This foundation becomes stronger over time. Each day of supportive self-dialogue adds another layer. Each moment of awareness reinforces the structure. And gradually, you begin to feel a shift, not just in how you think, but in how you experience your life. You approach challenges with a steady mindset. You engage with opportunities more openly. You recover from setbacks more quickly. This is not because life becomes easier, but because you are better equipped to handle it. Your confidence is not based on perfection, but on your ability to navigate imperfection. There is a quiet resilience in this approach. You do not avoid difficulty, but you also do not allow it to define you. Your inner dialogue remains steady, even when circumstances change. This steadiness creates a sense of balance. You are able to move forward without being pulled too far in any direction. As your confidence grows, it begins to influence other areas of your life. Your relationships become more authentic because you are not constantly seeking validation. Your work becomes more focused because you trust your abilities. Your personal growth becomes more intentional because you believe in your capacity to evolve. All of this begins with the simple practice of daily self-dialogue. The quiet conversations you have with yourself, repeated consistently, shaping your thoughts, your actions, your identity. It is not something that requires special conditions or perfect timing. It is available to you in every moment. Each time you choose supportive language, you are investing in your confidence. Each time you respond to yourself with patience and clarity, you are strengthening that investment. Over time, these choices create a lasting impact. They build a form of confidence that is steady, grounded, and deeply connected to who you are becoming. Discomfort is often misunderstood as something to avoid, something that signals danger, something that means you should stop, step back, or retreat into what feels familiar. But if you observe your life closely, you will begin to notice that nearly every meaningful moment of growth has been accompanied by some level of discomfort. It shows up when you try something new, when you stretch beyond your provincial patterns, when you face uncertainty, when you challenge beliefs that have defined you for years. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is a signal, a quiet indicator that you are moving beyond the boundaries of what is known. Most people spend their lives trying to stay comfortable. They build routines that feel safe, they avoid situations that create tension, and they repeat behaviors that require little effort. In the short term, this feels good. It creates a sense of ease, a sense of control. But over time, it also creates stagnation. When you avoid discomfort, you also avoid growth. You remain within the same limits, experiencing the same results, repeating the same patterns. When you begin to see discomfort as a sign of growth, your relationship with it changes. Instead of resisting it, you become curious about it. You ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to show me? Often, discomfort appears at the edge of your current abilities. It is the space between where you are and where you are capable of being. It is not there to stop you. It is there to guide you. This shift in perspective requires patience. Your mind is naturally wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. It interprets discomfort as something negative, something to escape. But not all discomfort is harmful. There is a difference between pain that signals danger and discomfort that signals growth. Learning to distinguish between the two is an important part of personal development. Growth-related discomfort often feels like uncertainty, like a lack of clarity, like a stretch. It may come with self-doubt, with hesitation, with a sense of vulnerability. But beneath those feelings, there is also opportunity. There is the chance to learn something new, to develop a skill, to expand your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Your inner dialogue plays a crucial role in how you experience discomfort. If your mind responds with fear and avoidance, the discomfort becomes heavier, more overwhelming. You might tell yourself, "This is too much," or "I'm not ready for this." These thoughts create resistance. They amplify the feeling, making it harder to move forward. But if your inner dialogue is calm and supportive, the experience changes. You might say, "This feels uncomfortable, but it means I am growing, or I can take this one step at a time." These words do not remove the discomfort, but they change your relationship with it. They make it more manageable, more meaningful. There is a quiet strength in allowing yourself to sit with discomfort without immediately trying to escape it. You do not need to rush to fix it or push it away. You can simply observe it. Notice how it feels in your body, how it moves, how it changes. This awareness creates space. It prevents the discomfort from taking control of your actions. People like Brendon Burchard often speak about the importance of embracing challenge as part of high performance. They understand that growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when you are willing to step into uncertainty, to face difficulty with intention, to continue moving even when things feel unfamiliar. This does not mean forcing yourself into overwhelming situations. Growth is not about extremes, it is about gradual expansion. You take small steps outside your comfort zone, allowing yourself to adapt, to learn, to build confidence. Each step may bring a level of discomfort, but it also brings progress. As you continue this process, you begin to build resilience. You become more comfortable with being uncomfortable. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once caused hesitation becomes an opportunity. This resilience is not about eliminating discomfort, but about increasing your capacity to handle it. Your body also adapts. At first, discomfort may create tension, a quickening of your breath, a sense of unease. But as you practice staying present, your body learns to respond differently. Your breathing becomes steadier, your movements more controlled. You begin to carry a sense of calm, even in challenging situations. This calmness is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of control. You are no longer reacting automatically. You are responding intentionally. You are choosing to stay engaged rather than withdraw. This choice is what allows growth to happen. Discomfort also reveals your beliefs. It shows you where you feel limited, where you doubt yourself, where you hold back. When you face discomfort, you have the opportunity to examine these beliefs. Are they accurate? Are they helpful? Do they reflect who you are now or who you were in the past? By questioning these beliefs, you begin to create new ones. Beliefs that support your growth, that align with your goals, that reflect your potential. This process is not instant. It requires repetition, awareness, and patience. But over time, these new beliefs become stronger, guiding your actions in a more positive direction. There is also a sense of freedom that comes from embracing discomfort. When you are no longer controlled by the need to feel comfortable at all times, your world expands. You are willing to try new things, to take risks, to explore opportunities. You are not limited by fear of the unknown. This freedom allows you to experience life more fully. You are not just moving through familiar patterns, you are actively engaging with new possibilities. Each experience adds to your understanding, your skills, your confidence. And with each step, your comfort zone grows. It is important to approach this process with compassion. Growth is not a race. There will be moments when discomfort feels intense, when you feel the urge to step back. In those moments, you can slow down, you can take a breath, you can remind yourself that it is okay to move at your own pace. Your inner dialogue remains a key part of this process. It provides support, guidance, and reassurance. It helps you stay focused on your intention rather than your fear. It reminds you that discomfort is temporary, but growth is lasting. As you continue to embrace discomfort, you begin to notice a shift in how you see challenges. They no longer feel like obstacles to avoid, but like opportunities to engage with. You approach them with curiosity rather than resistance. You ask yourself what you can learn, how you can grow, what steps you can take. This mindset creates momentum. Each time you move through discomfort, you build confidence. You prove to yourself that you are capable of handling more than you thought. This confidence reinforces your willingness to face future challenges. Over time, discomfort becomes less intimidating. It becomes a familiar part of your journey. Not something you seek for its own sake, but something you accept as a natural part of growth. You understand that without it, progress would be limited. This understanding brings a sense of balance. You do not chase discomfort, but you also do not avoid it. You meet it when it appears, with awareness and intention. You allow it to guide you, to show you where growth is possible. Your life begins to reflect this shift. You take on new challenges, explore new ideas, develop new skills. You move beyond the boundaries that once defined you. And in doing so, you create a path that is dynamic, evolving, and aligned with your potential. The process is continuous. There is always another level of growth, another area to explore, another step to take. Discomfort remains a companion on this journey, not as a barrier, but as a signal. A reminder that you are moving forward, that you are expanding, that you are becoming more than you were before